It is a gorgeous morning here in Allen Park. Feels a whole lot like fall, which is pretty appropriate as we ramp up for the start of football season. The first game of the year is just 2 weeks from yesterday. Hello and welcome to Lions Training Camp Live, presented by Rocket Mortgage. I'm your host, Tori Petrie. Today on the show, we are talking all about linebackers. We were supposed to talk with TJ Lang on Friday's show. Of course, that practice got moved inside, so we ended up talking defensive line with Lomas Brown on Saturday's show. But today we are talking linebackers, and TJ Lang will be joining me just a little bit later in the show as the players join the field. Today is the first day of a regular season schedule for the Lions. Over the weekend, they transitioned out of training camp mode and they are transitioning to a regular season schedule. So today's practice might look a little bit different. The media will not be out here observing the entire practice. They'll just be observing individual drills, which you guys will be seeing a little bit later on in the show as we analyze the linebackers. Speaking of which, I got a chance to catch up earlier in the week with linebacker Christian Jones. He talked all about that group and what he likes about training with them so much. Take a look. Christian, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We really appreciate it. You guys are a couple of weeks now into camp. You're getting down to crunch time just before the regular season. How has this camp compared to how you expected it to be, and what has gone well about it?
Obviously, it's a lot different with the whole COVID protocols and all that. But, I'm happy with the way guys come in and show up every day to work. Coach's energy is great. Players' energy is great. We just got to, keep up the momentum and keep it going. Obviously, we don't have the preseason games and all that. But, having the scrimmage here today is a, good taste for the young guys and even for the vets to get that, get that live taste of it's not the same as a real game, but it's close.
As close as we can get, really, at this point in the season. You've got a couple of new faces in that linebacker room this offseason, and Jamie Collins and Reggie Ragland. There's a few others as well. What has it been like being able to be with those guys finally in person and meet them in person and work together?
It's awesome. Obviously, we know about with Reggie, he comes off from a Super Bowl winning year. So he kind of brings that winning mentality, kind of, he knows how it is to get there. The same with Jamie. Jamie's kind of unique, a guy that can do a lot of different things. Really good high football IQ, and I think is great for the room. For me personally, for the young guys, and he's been in the system too. So he also, helps us kind of critique things that we've done in the past. So it's been great having those guys in the room, and already I feel the bond between us, and even with our new coach. So it's a special thing. So hopefully we can keep growing and getting better together.
Jamie joins this group. He brings so much versatility. He plays all over the defense. What have you learned from him since he's joined your room?
Just like I said, he played on this defense before. So like anything I thought I was doing well, he kind of puts his own flavor into it, and it's pretty cool because Jamie, like I said, Jamie has a high football IQ, and he kind of sees things that I won't see, and he'll kind of point that out and tell us how he sees it and how he plays it. He's kind of I won't say he's quiet, but he kind of picks and chooses when to talk. But he's a great dude. Honestly, I love having him in the room. He's a guy that always keeps it real with everybody, and me personally, I appreciate that.
Well, we all liked seeing Jelani Tavai out there on the field for his rookie year, but he goes into his second year now. Where have you seen him grow since his season last year?
Just his knowledge of the defense. Jelani's kind of a guy too that can kind of play all over the place, and I like the way he's kind of taking more command in the huddle. So he's growing in that aspect. I guess that's just having another year of the same defense under his belt. So, we all expect great things from him.
Where do you feel like your game has grown since last year?
This is my third year in the defense. So, I think I have it down pretty well. But like I said, having Jamie in the room, he kind of he's been in it longer than all of us. So he's kind of telling me what I can do better, how I can play certain things. So I'm kind of just still growing my knowledge of the system. And it's a real cool room. We talk ball, we talk about life. It's not always just football in there. We talk about everything, and and I think that's going to help us on the field.
All right, I know you spent some time this offseason training with Jared Davis in his Lions Den gym. Tell us, is he really as big coming into camp as he looks in photos? We haven't gotten to get up close with these guys, but he looks like he's put on some weight.
Oh, yeah. You know, JD's a tank, man. He I don't know if he can hit any guys even harder than he already has. So we'll see in week 2. But, yeah, he looks great flying around out there. And, just like Jelani, man, we expect great things from JD, too.
Thank you so much, Christian. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Lions fans. Thank you for watching Training Camp Live, presented by Rocket Mortgage. We'll be right back.
Without technology, we'd probably be closed right now.
Detroit has ranked as one of the least connected cities in America.
As easy as it is for you to pick up your phone and call a colleague and email them, many people don't have access to that.
We understand how important technology is to small businesses.
It's allowing us to provide a service.
That's why we're pledging millions to ensure Detroit businesses have access to the technology they deserve.
Having access can take our community to the next level.
Learn more at rocketmortgageclassic.com.
Luigi!
Jade is about to buy her first home. And with a verified approval from Rocket Mortgage, she has the strength to compete with cash offers. When you need an edge in the bidding war, Rocket can. Rocket.
Welcome back into Lions Training Camp Live, presented by Rocket Mortgage. I'm your host, Tori Petrie. Joining me on set right now is DetroitLions.com's Tim Twentyman. Tim, we've got a linebacker-themed show for the fans today. It's a position the Lions really shook up in the offseason.
Yeah, they did. You know, they obviously added Jamie Collins Sr., veteran guy, really productive in this league, just 81 tackles last year, 7 sacks. 3 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, just got a lot of production all over the field. And then Reggie Ragland, a guy who won a Super Bowl last year with Kansas City, veteran guy as well, can play inside, can play outside. So you add 2 guys with a lot of experience, and now, you know, I think you feel pretty good about that linebacker group, not only just in the skill set, but the versatility and the depth as well. I think that was one area they really wanted to improve, and I think they went out and did it.
Absolutely. Well, let's get you guys involved in the conversation as well. We've got a social poll for you today, as we have with all of the other shows. Today's question is, which linebacker do you think will have the most tackles this season? So the most overall tackles. Here's your options. Hashtag Collins, hashtag Davis, hashtag Jones, and hashtag Tavai. Tweet your answer with that hashtag. Let us know which one you think it's going to be. Tim, what's your vote?
Jamie Collins. Yeah, I think
far and away.
I think so. We talked about the production off the top. I think, you know, one, he's going to be in there. I would think 90% of the snaps. You know, playing on the outside, playing on the inside, and just his versatility, size, athleticism. They're going to use him a lot of different ways. He's going to rush the quarterback. He's going to blitz. He's going to drop in coverage, where he's one of the best covered linebackers in the NFL per Pro Football Focus last year. So I think he just does a lot of things, and he's going to be on the field so much that I think just sheer snaps versus tackles is going to be his benefit.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what you guys think later on in the show. We will check in, see what you guys are voting for, and we will discuss that with TJ Lang when he joins the show in just a little bit. Now, Tim, each show that you've come on, we've been talking about your observations. You've been giving us what you've seen in training camp so far. We haven't been broadcasting every single day of camp, so we've been using your observations to give us a view into the days of practice where we haven't had cameras out on the field. Obviously, we've just been showing you kind of the beginning of practice, those individual periods that are open to media, but there's a little bit more that you've been able to watch. The last practice of that, though, was on Saturday, so things will change a little bit from here. So help us understand what Saturday's practice was and what your observations were from that.
I heard pads hitting. You know, that was the best thing.
Sweet,
I mean,
sweet noise.
It was, yeah. And look, there's no preseason, there's no joint practices, and you know, head coach Matt Patricia said it at the offset. Look, we can't go into week 1 not having hit anybody or not having been hit. It just doesn't work that way. This is football. It's tackling. And so, I think it was good. The Lions ran a live scrimmage with tackling for nearly the entire practice on Saturday, and it was good to see some pops. And look, it was controlled. I mean, teammates aren't out there to hurt each other. Running back stumbling in the lane of safety isn't going to take a shot. We didn't see huge shots over the middle on a high ball. So there's some limits there. You obviously want to protect guys, but there were some pops too, Tori. Desmond Trufant came up and hit Golladay pretty good on a short pass. And look, Jared Davis snuck in there on a 3rd and 1 and got to the running back. So it was good to see some of that stuff. And for the ball carriers especially, the running backs, wide receivers, I think it's important to get those live reps, get that tackling just for ball security, things like that. You don't want to go into week 1 not having been hit, not having to understand, hey, I got to hold this ball high and tight, or I got to protect it, catch it, bring it into my body. Just things like that I think coaches were looking for from that live practice. And obviously the defensive guys like to hit somebody.
I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for coaches and staff structuring this truncated training camp is figuring out how to balance getting players that experience hitting before the season starts. Usually you'd have that naturally in a preseason game, but then also keeping them safe. It's been a very delicate balance.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, and I think the timing of Saturday was good because you're far enough out from week 1 that if something did happen, you get some bumps and bruises. You're still 2 weeks away for recovery, but, it was important, too, for the special teams guys.
Yeah.
What do you have there? What do some of these guys give you on special teams? That's the way a lot of these young guys, first-year players, rookies, undrafted guys are going to make this roster. You've got to do some live reps with punting, with kickoff, and they did that on Saturday. So I think it was good for those young guys to be able to show a little bit something too, because special teams is really how they're going to make this roster.
Tim, tell me about Kenny G. How's he looking?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, we saw him, obviously he led the league last year with 11 touchdown reception. I think he's just picked up right where he left off. In that live scrimmage, I think him and Matthew Stafford were really dialed in. He had a couple of really nice first down catches. And then, first touchdown catch, a one-handed grab in the end zone behind a receiver. It's we saw that all year from Kenny. Second touchdown, covered like a blanket by Amani Oriarie. But what does Matthew do? He high points a little bit behind Oriarie, boom, is able to make the play. And I just think those two are really, really dialed in. Kenny's had an awesome training camp along with Matthew Stafford, but I just think Saturday reaffirmed that these guys are really on the same page, and that's going to be another.
Look at that
there's that one-handed catch. Look at that. What are you going to do if you're Justin Coleman? You're right there, you know? And that's just Kenny. He's able to go up, make plays, adjust his body. He's really strong, has great hands. And so I think that duo, we saw it last year. They're going to pick up right where they left off, and we saw that Saturday. He was really, really good. He was dominant.
I love it. I think that is exciting for a lot of Lions fans to hear.
It should be. And
Kenny
fantasy
Golladay
football owners.
pick up,
See, now fantasy football owners, those
right,
drafts are coming up here in the next week or so. So
I know ours is coming up
I'm letting
soon.
you guys know. He's been really, really good. So
Okay.
you might want to take a flyer on Kenny. He's been that good in training camp.
Okay, well, we know Kenny Golladay has a role on this team, but how about some of the running backs? What's been standing out there, Tim?
I think one guy who stood out to me Saturday, I think he's shown flashes all through camp, is Jason Huntley, their 5th-round pick. Now, obviously, he was the only running back in this draft class that had at least 1,000 receiving yards in college. So we knew that, he could be a good receiver out of the backfield. He was used as a kickoff return man, was really good there, too. And I think Saturday he kind of showed me that he can make plays in space. I think he had a terrific run where he kind of hit the hole. He stutter-stepped and froze the defender, was able to use his speed to get around him left for a good 15-yard gain. He caught a number of balls in the passing game, just getting in the open field. We're seeing some of the route running, the crispness, the receiving part of his game right there in the highlights. And I think that's where he's got an opportunity to have a role. I mean, this team lost J.D. McKissick in the offseason. He was really the third down back last year, led all those backs with 34 receptions. And so they kind of need someone to step into that role. You thought maybe DeAndre Swift would play a big part, but unfortunately, an injury's kept him out for more than a week now. And so they're looking for someone to step into that role. And I think it's a great opportunity for Jason Huntley, not only special teams, but maybe get some play on third down and show what he's able to do in the open field, because I think he showed that on Saturday, and not only running the football, but catching it as well.
Well, fans were seeing him play on the screen, but I was watching you. I like your action working that out.
Oh,
You
a
were
little stutter
Fans didn't see that, but
it's been a long time.
They got to see Jason Huntley do it, which is more important. But Tim was acting it out here on set as well. Tim, you mentioned DeAndre Swift. Obviously, he's been injured through a big part of this training camp. How do you see that affecting how he starts the season?
Well, I think it's going to affect his role, obviously. I think the rookies were already behind the eight ball, not having the rookie minicamp and the OTAs and the veteran minicamp in June, and that's just hundreds of reps of being able to understand leverage in the pass game when you're going out for routes, getting that, symbiotic relationship with the quarterback in the passing game, just understanding the run game and some of the adjustments that need to be made against the defense there. And so he's missed a lot of that. And so I don't think Darrell Bevell's going to, week one, try to put everything on his plate and say, here, this is what we expected you to do. Let's just still do that. I think they're going to cut it back. They have to tailor it back a little bit so that he's comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I can see that affect him early in the season. Maybe he doesn't get as much run as they maybe hoped if he would have been here healthy for the entire training camp.
Well, it's just too bad because that's really a product of the shortened training camp that they've had.
And you're seeing him here, and he's in pads, and he's been close. He's been running off to the side, and I think it's a really good indication that he's got pads on for today's practice. We'll kind of see how that plays out in individual drills and moving forward. But that's a lot of time, 9 practices to miss in already a truncated training camp. I think he's just got to play a little bit of catch-up. He's still going to have a role, and I still anticipate him against Chicago having a role. It just might not be as big early on as maybe they expected. Right. They'll kind of get him up to speed.
Good stuff, Tim. Okay, we're talking linebackers on today's show, and I know you've been watching those guys. It seems like it's a group that Matt Patricia is going to have a lot of fun moving around.
Yeah, moving around is right. I mean, you just look at that Jack linebacker spot. Christian Jones played a lot of the will last year, but he's really played a lot of that Jack on the ball or on the line of scrimmage kind of linebacker role, rush the quarterback, what we saw from Devon Kennard last year.
Sure.
But we've seen Reggie Ragland in that role. We've seen Tavai in that role. We've seen Jamie Collins Sr. in that role. And then we've seen every single one of those guys play inside as well. And so, yeah, it's really a versatile group. And, I think Christian Jones is going to provide something. I'm interested to see that one, especially at that Jack role. He's got size, skill set to rush the passer. Didn't do a ton of it because they had Devon Kennard. So I think it'll be interesting how they mix that position up. I'll mention Julian Okwara in that mix as well, the rookie third-round pick. He's going to get some run at that Jack spot too. He's going to mostly be on the outside there rushing the passer, but a lot of those guys can play inside too. And so what it does is it gives you a mix of different packages, different guys, different skill sets. You're seeing Jelani Tavai there. He's going into his second season. You expect him to take a big leap. We've seen him play that Jack spot. We've seen him play the Mike and the Will. He's played every spot. And so, I think that's the biggest thing with this linebacker group now is you've got options because of the guys that we talked about off the top that they've added this offseason. With a guy like Tavai heading into his second year, you obviously have Jared Davis, who's an experienced guy. I think they just got a lot of varying skill sets and a lot of versatility, and we're going to see those guys move all over. And it just gives, Matt Patricia and Corey Undlin some options.
Yeah, it definitely does. You mentioned Julian Okwara. We talked about him in the defensive line show, but he's kind of one of those players that doesn't fit directly into one single group. Where do you see him fitting this season?
With Julian, I think he's going to be that kind of play that Devon Kennard Jack linebacker role. I think when we've watched him in practice, that's where he's been the majority of the time. We don't see him move inside that much. I haven't seen him put his hand in the dirt as a traditional defensive end that much either. So I think really that role heading into the season is going to be that kind of stand-up, rush linebacker. He's going to get into that mix there, and I think that's where we're going to see him, certainly at the beginning of the season.
All right, good stuff. I mentioned it at the top of the show. This practice marks a departure from what the Lions have been doing in training camp up to this point. Quickly, Tim, help us understand what this week will look like for the Lions.
Well, it's starting to get ready for the regular season mode. That regular season mode really starts next week, when then you'll have the regular season schedule. But like here, I think it's going to be similar to what we saw in a training camp practice, just from timing and stuff they do, because they are still trying to figure out the roster. It's still technically training camp as they get to those roster cuts, and then next week we see them transition. Now they're going to start game planning. They're going to start putting those kind of things in. I think they're still this week trying to figure out the roster and kind of find those last few bubble spots. But then next week we will see them. It's going to be all about the Chicago Bears. It's going to be all about game planning and preparing and trying to figure out who's starting quarterback for them and how that will affect your defense. So next week's going to be the really switch over. This week they're just kind of trying to figure out the rest of that roster. They have to cut down to 53 by Saturday. So this is an important week for a lot of the young guys, a lot of the bubble guys to still make an impression out here.
Yeah, this staff has some difficult decisions ahead of them. Defensive coordinator Cory Undlin will certainly be part of those decisions. I got a chance to catch up with him earlier in the week to talk to him about this defense and specifically about that linebacker group. Take a look. Cory, thank you so much for joining us here today. You guys are on the home stretch of camp, just a little bit left to go. What have you learned about this team throughout camp so far?
Learned a lot. Got a bunch of really, really impressive young men on this team. A bunch of smart guys, and I'm not talking obviously just about the game of football. I'm talking about the game of life. It's been a moving, it really goes all the way back to the spring when these conversations just started, and then be able to carry it over with the unfortunate situation that happened, obviously, and to be around these men, all of them, and offensively, defensively, the specialists. It's been an incredible journey to this point, and I would agree with you that we are coming down the home stretch. It's getting close. We got a lot of work to do here in the next 2 weeks, but it's getting closer. So it's been an incredible journey so far, and I can't wait to see what happens next. One of the big questions this offseason was how this defense is going to work with it being Matt Patricia's scheme and then you stepping in. Now that we're getting closer to the regular season, what insight can you give us on the role that you're playing in that defense? Yeah, I'm not sure how much insight I'm going to give you. I know this. I'll be calling the plays on game day. Obviously with Matt, Matt, he's the head football coach. So there's not going to be any calls played without his knowing. There's not going to be any exotic blitz in any situation that he's not going to know about. And I'll call the plays. If he doesn't like it and he tells me to change it, then I'm going to change it. So we'll see how that goes. But I would say the relationship and all the work that's been done from the spring through this part of training camp and actually being on the field with the players, it's been great. Great feedback from him. Great feedback, I think, from me back to him. So it's been a great start. And we'll see how it ends up here when we get closer to the game. But listen, I have to ask, right? Everybody is wondering. We are all excited to get back to football and to see you guys on the football field. But for today's show, we are actually focusing on the linebackers. What do you like about that group that you have at linebacker? Yeah, the first thing I would say is the depth. We've got a lot of good players there. It's going to be some hard decisions here when it comes to that situation. A lot of versatility. The ability to move some guys around. And then we've got some veterans in there that have been part of this scheme. And I'm not in any way, and I include JD in that, even though he hasn't been in it you're talking about Jamie Collins, a guy that's been in this program and in this system for many years. I think that addition of those players has helped not only JD, but has helped me, Jelani, Jalen Reeves, all of them. So it's been a great bonus to have those guys here. Like I said, Jamie, he helps me, makes it clear for me too as I'm calling it. So the feedback from those guys has been incredible, and I'm excited to see how that group shakes out. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a bunch of options on the ability to move those guys around without getting into details about that. But we've got some good depth there. It's going to be fun. How fun is that for you as a defensive coordinator to have that versatility and be able to work with those guys' skill sets and put them where you can use them best? Yeah, I would say it's what you want as a play caller, obviously, to be able to do that. And then at the same time, that's on me to make sure that we take advantage of that between me and Matt, putting those guys in the right spots. You don't want to overthink it. Want those guys to run out there and play as fast as they possibly can. So that duty will fall on me and then on Matt to make sure that we get those guys in the right spots, regardless of who's out there and what package we're in or whatever we're doing, down, distance, all that. So it's an incredible opportunity to have those guys. Just got to make sure we don't screw it up. You mentioned that you have that ability to learn from Jamie Collins and just his experience. How key has it been having him join that linebacker group and be able to have his experience in that room? Yeah, it's incredible. Anytime you get a guy that's got a bunch of experience in it, and me being out of the system for a while, a good bit of while actually, but there's a lot of stuff that happens, and there's a lot of different little tweaks without getting into the details of it that he's comfortable with. Just a quick reminder, like, hey, coach, don't forget that we can do this, we can do that, whatever it is. Thank you very much. I mean, so he's almost like having an assistant coach kind of standing there next to me on the side, you know, when he's not out there on the field. So, and then that just gets me back into the right mindset. It helps me call it. It helps me think faster. And then knowing that even if I do put those guys in a bad situation, he's got that group, JD, Jelani, those guys can fix it. And they've got some tools that are in their hands, so they have some control of the defense as well. So it's just a bonus.
Yeah, what a benefit for you as a coach. Now, you weren't there for Jelani Tavai's first season in the league here in Detroit, but you've seen him develop throughout this offseason, and as he begins his second year, where are you seeing him grow? Yeah,
I see him getting better every single day. Arrow up on him, steady incline. You know, we talk about that all the time. Consistency as players, as a team, you know, so that you don't have a great day one day and then a day that's not so good. I mean, we're looking to stay on a slight incline, and I would without hesitation say that Jelani's on that incline every day, getting used to new teammates just like we all are, and I would say he's headed in the right direction. Super excited for him in year two.
Corey, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you guys on game day.
Appreciate it, Tori.
Don't ever judge a day on the weather.
He's a spy, so he's mic'd up.
Blackbird, this is Blackbird actual, over. Let's go, let's go! Fast feet, fast minds. Fast feet, fast minds. First nickel, nickel. Don't touch me. Foul, let it go. Which way you going? Ha! Oh. Come on, Monty. Foul. Get out! That went 2-4. Come on, Tony. Need you right here. Need you right here. Let him go. Tighter, Tony. Tighter. Tony. Here. Oh, here. Get her, D. Good. Come on, John. Pennicini getting better. Attaboy. Right, come on. Wow! Interception drill. Interception drill. Rip it. Get it. Gone.
All the way through. All the way through.
Don't drop it. Ow! On the move, on the move.
Let's go. We're moving.
On the move, run in place if you don't know where to go. Wow, good. On the cue. On the cue, JD. On the cue. Good, nice. Stay off that cheese. Stay off the cheese. Good. Set it. Good. Good, take a peek. Back in the queue. There you go. Let go. Good. Hang in there, Jay. Get out. Probably last one. You ran this like 6 times. Let's go. Perfect. Pull. Snap. Good, well, good. Outside, good, Joe. Gotta go. Gotta win there, True. Gotta win, True. That'll happen at some point. I mean, we'll get sideways, put nickel out there, think it's 11, all of a sudden ends up 21, and there's a fullback in the game. You got to get lined up, right. Just like you guys did yesterday. You want to punt? You want to punt? No. Just run in place. If you don't know. That song, that that's from, that reminds me of Hangover every time I hear that. That's when they were leaving Vegas and they had to get back to get their suit. Incomplete. That would have been violent, dude. Yeah. I mean, he might have to get you on that even. Like, just sacrifice everybody. Just take one for the team. Guys, Bobby. Good job. Pick it up, Jeff. This is going to start on the clock. Get them ready, Jelani. Lined up, lined up. Block the intended. Amani, you got to block the intended. Okay, Rome. Selling out, Rome.
Hey, this is Hefe, and you are watching Training Camp Live, presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Your house brought you together. Like, really together. And although together is great, together with more space is better. With Rocket Mortgage, you get personalized loan options, closing costs, and tax estimates, all in real time. So when you need to know what it takes for a home to fit your budget and your family, Rocket can. Rocket.
Luigi! Big check!
30% of Detroit families don't have internet access at home. Rocket Mortgage is committing millions to ensure all Detroit students have the technology they deserve. Together, we are changing the course. Learn more at rocketmortgageclassic.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Great to be back for another season, talking with TJ, presented by...
I walk away for 5 seconds to get a drink of water, and you're taking my show over?
Sorry, Tori.
We invited you to be on Training Camp Live, presented by Rocket Mortgage. This is not Talking with TJ.
It was a habit. Sorry,
I know you're trying to relive your glory days out here. This is my show. We have chairs. We have the budget for that.
Okay.
It's not yours.
I'll let you be the big dog today for once. Okay.
All right, guys, we are welcomed in back to the show. We're joined by TJ Lang. It's good to have him back here in Allen Park, even if he is trying to take over my job here. TJ, great to see you back around the facility. Nice to see you catching up with some people around here, too.
Yeah, it is. It's been too long. It's obviously been a weird training camp without any fans or, really very limited people out here on the sideline, but got to see a lot of, friendly faces. Coach Patricia said hi to, obviously at a very safe distance, and Bob Quinn, a couple of the players that I haven't seen in a long time. It was a lot of. It's good to catch up with those guys. You don't really miss football during training camp when you retire.
I get that.
But you miss seeing the guys. You miss the camaraderie. You miss that friendship. It was really good to catch up with a few of those guys.
Yeah, well, it looked like they missed you, too. Those greetings were quite jovial. So I think they like seeing you back around Allen Park, and we're excited to have you on the show today talking linebackers. That's going to be our focus today. And every time on the show, we've had a trivia question for the fans to get involved. So let's pose the trivia question for you guys to hop in here and chime in. The question today is, how many Lions on the current roster attended high school in the state of Michigan? I think I might know one other guy who attended high school in the state of Michigan. We'll get to that later.
Come up with one.
Yeah, for now, we'll let the fans chime in and see what they think on the answer to that question. We also want you to chime in with our social poll of the day. We asked that earlier on in the show. Which linebacker do you think is going to rack up the most tackles this season? You can chime in with your hashtags, hashtag Collins, hashtag Tavai, hashtag Davis. Let's see what you guys think so far. It looks like you guys are going with Christian Jones. That's who you think is going to have the most tackles for the Lions this season, followed shortly behind Jared Davis. It's a pretty close race there. Everybody's just a few percentages apart here. TJ, what do you think? Who's going to have the most tackles among the linebackers?
I think the one guy that I'm really excited to watch is Jared Davis. I think when you look at how he's looking in this camp, you look at the pictures, the videos, the limited videos that you can see, he looks like he's just ready to have a beast season. I mean, you look at the guy's arms.
He's jacked.
He's jacked. He's probably put on a couple pounds of good strength. Great athlete. Contract year for him. I know he's going to be very motivated to go out there and obviously perform at a high level. So I think he'd be my pick.
Okay, all right. Well, you guys chime in. We'll revisit that later on in the show and see what you guys picked for who will have the most tackles amongst the linebackers this season. TJ, the Lions are warming up right now. They're doing their stretches. In just a few minutes, we'll be showing individual drills, and we'll have you breaking down those drills for us. So while the guys are getting warmed up, I want you to be able to help us understand Matt Patricia's defense. You played for this team. Obviously, you're an offensive player, but you had to practice against his defense in practice. Help us understand his scheme.
Yeah, well, not only have I practiced against it a bunch, obviously played against the
sure.
Green Bay, Detroit. We didn't play New England every, only a couple times, in my career. But I got to tell you, I think the first thing that sticks out about the defense is it's early downs. You got to stop the run. You got to. They like to put 7, 8 guys in the box, stop the run, get you into the 3rd and long, 2nd and long, make you start forcing the pass, and then from there, it's basically it's almost a coverage-based defense. You got to have a couple guys that can rush the passer, no doubt, but I think they take a lot of pride in having versatility in the back end. We want to mix up coverages. We want to confuse the quarterbacks at the same time applying pressure. So it's definitely a very unique defense. You don't see a lot of it anymore in the NFL, but they finally, I think this is the first year where they've brought in the exact guys they want. They've gotten enough experience and enough depth at the key positions to where this year is going to be the year where, okay, now we see the rewards starting to pay off. It's been 3 years now. Now the defense is rocking and rolling. They're ready to go.
How unique is this defense in the NFL in terms of having a defense that isn't strictly 3-4, it isn't strictly 4-3, it's really catered to whoever is the opponent that week? How unique is that?
It is pretty unique. I think the biggest thing, too, is what you see, the kind of players they like. The first thing that sticks out is versatility. You want linebackers that can not only stop the run, but they can cover running backs coming out of the backfield. They can apply pressure, which we've seen, a couple times in the last couple years with Jared Davis 2 years ago had 6 sacks. Devon Kennard, who's no longer here, he was kind of that linebacker role, 7 sacks last year. So it's very versatile, and I think, like you said, if we're playing a run-heavy team this week, we might go back to our 3-4, have 3-4 linebackers on the field. If we're playing a pass-heavy team, might have more of the nickel package, more of the dime package, and you can adjust with whatever the offense is trying to throw at you. I think that's why you can't really label them as a 3-4 or 4-3.
Right.
They're just a mixed package defense, and they have everything in their toolbox to be able to stop the defense or stop the offense.
Well, I think versatility is something we will be talking a lot about when it comes to these linebackers. You can see them out there on the field. They're getting started with their individual drills. Now, TJ, when we are watching these guys in their drills today, what are we looking for? What is a good linebacker drill? What skills do they show when they're doing these drills?
Well, I think when you look at the drills where they're, you can obviously tell if they're in a pass coverage drill or a run drill.
Sure.
I think the biggest thing that's difficult to block a linebacker is when they use their hands well. You want to see the hand placement. You want to see the pad level. You want to see the pop. You want to see if these guys can get their hands inside on offensive linemen or tight ends and control the blocker. You don't want to see guys that come up and just, like a rocket, just go running and lower the shoulder, and now you create you want guys that are able to stop a big left 340-pound left guard from getting on you and moving you. Watching some tackling drills here, obviously very basic stuff. I know you don't get a whole lot of live tackling in training camp, especially this year without a preseason. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is the footwork, the pad level, the hand placement. Those are all probably the top 3 most important things for linebackers.
All right, well, as we talk about these guys, they'll be doing their drills. You can help us understand what they're doing and what skills they are showing. But I think the conversation about this linebacker group starts with the guy that they brought here in the offseason. They signed linebacker Jamie Collins this offseason. They bring him in from the New England Patriots. TJ, what makes Jamie Collins' game so good?
Well, I think I sound like a broken record, but it's the versatility.
I mean, that is his key trait, though,
right,
for this guy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you don't really see a whole lot of really big linebackers around the NFL anymore. It's gone a lot like the defensive linemen, where you're seeing smaller guys, more athletic guys, faster guys, because they have to cover a lot of pass snaps now in the NFL. But Jamie Collins is a guy who he can cover, he can rush, He can blitz. He's coming off of a career year last year with New England with 7 sacks. He's going into, I think, year 9 or so. So he's got a lot of experience, but I know there's a lot of hype and a lot of really high expectations for him coming in, not only as a versatile guy that can play whatever role you need him to play, but also as a leader. Teach these other younger guys, what the defense is supposed to look like and what the expectations are. I think he's a huge addition to this team.
You mentioned that year that he had last year in New England, 81 tackles for the Patriots. You talked about those 7 sacks. He had 10 tackles for loss as well. Do you think he's able to replicate production like that in Matt Patricia's scheme?
Oh, I absolutely do. I think he's had a lot of experience in the defense in this particular scheme. He's got experience in other schemes that are beneficial too. If he has to drop back and play coverage or cover a running back coming out of the backfield, he's a guy that can do it. He's not slow. He might be 255, 260 pounds, but he's a great athlete. He can do anything you need him to do, and I think whether it's going to be early downs, maybe playing more of a traditional linebacker role, and then maybe later third downs, passing downs, he's a guy you can throw in at maybe defensive end or outside linebacker there and generate a pass rush with him on the outside. So he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox, and he's probably one of the guys out of all the additions that they've made to this defense this offseason, probably the guy that I'm most excited to see.
All right. I like that. And how much does it help this linebacker room to have a guy like that join the room, to have a veteran be able to come in who's been out there on the field and produced so well throughout his years in the league, and then he comes in, and you guys heard Cory Undlin talk about how it's like having a second coach on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think any position group is going to benefit from a veteran that's coming in, not only a veteran that's played a lot of games, but a guy who's been a part of a lot of winning teams. I think that's an important factor as well. He obviously knows how to win. He's used to those high expectations of coming in, and we're not accepting anything less than being a top 5, top 10 defense. That's our goal, and I think he's a guy that's probably one of his more important aspects is the leadership that he brings. Jared Davis going into his 4th year now. He's been around for a long time. It's always good to have a couple of those guys that can bring in the younger guys like a Jelani Tavai who's going into a 2nd year, guy you're looking to make that 2nd year leap. You can't say enough about having a veteran guy that you can lean on and show you how to do things the right way.
Let's talk about Jelani Tavai. 58 tackles in his rookie year. He had 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss. Those 58 tackles put him in the top 10 amongst rookie linebackers. What are you expecting from him in his 2nd year in the league?
I had a coach that always used to talk about 2nd-year players.
Yeah.
2nd year is usually kind of the line where you say, okay, this guy took the step, he's ready to go, he's ready to contribute, or maybe he needs another year. I was one of those guys who I probably needed another year. I think Jelani's probably –
it turned out okay for you.
It turned out okay. I sat a little while, but Jelani obviously getting thrown into a role early last year with Jared Davis missing some time early after his preseason injury last season. I think he's the one guy – that I look at all the guys who are going in their 2nd year, I think I have probably the highest expectations for him taking a big 2nd year leap, as you hear a lot of coaches around the league talk about. I think the one thing, and I it's been very limited this year in getting information in camps, but I talked to a couple coaches from this Lions team, and they say he's probably got the best instincts that we've seen in a young linebacker, and maybe the best instincts on this team. So I think that says a lot about the kid. I think he's starting to develop into more of a leadership role as well with Jared Davis, and I expect big things. I think he's a guy that you look at, he can do everything. Like Tim was talking about earlier in the show, he can rush the passer as well. He can blitz. He can cover running back. So for him, I think it's going to be taking that big step and the consistency.
Which position amongst that linebacker group do you see him fitting into most often? Like we said, Matt Patricia usually does move guys around, but where do you see him fitting in as far as positions go around the linebackers?
Yeah, I think he'll probably be more effective in the middle of the defense when he can keep things in front of him, trust the defensive linemen to do their job, and then just be an absolute tackling machine.
All right, I
think that's where I see him playing his best. But like we said, I mean, we've seen him, like Tim was saying, we've seen him line up at that outside role where he rushes the passer, he sets the edge in the run game. He's a guy that can do that too. But when you look at just kind of his body type, 6'2", 250, that tells you got a rock there in the middle of that defense. And for him, it's going to be this defense really with the big defensive lineman, Danny Shelton, those guys in front of you. It's a linebacker's dream to play in because you can trust those guys that eat up the double teams and you go clean up the tackles, you get all the stats. I think Jelani's definitely going to be better fit probably in the middle of the defense.
Okay, and what is this drill that we've been watching here where they're tapping on the pads in front of them? What do they learn in there?
A little bit harder than a tap. I think they're punching it. But
yeah.
That's basically, at linebackers, you don't want to stick to blocks. You want to punch. You want to disengage with the blocker. You want to shed. You want to obviously stay in your lane, whatever gap integrity you have, and shed and make the play. I think that drill there was you see them shuffling down the line. They throw a punch at the bag and kind of redirect and get in position for a play. So it goes back to what we talked about to the top of the show is hand placement, right? Pad level, hand placement, get off the block.
I like it. Well, TJ, you talked about Jarrad Davis a little bit earlier when we were talking about who will have the most tackles this season. You voted Jarrad Davis. Why do you think this is going to be such a good year for him?
I think he's just poised for it. I think last year, being a first-round pick, obviously there's high expectations that come with that. I think last year was a little bit of a struggle for him, but I think you go back to that injury he had in the preseason. I think it was the ankle that he missed a couple games at the end of the season. Everything you look at this guy right now, he looks like he's 20 pounds heavier. He looks like he's gotten faster, which I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that, but with the couple years that I played with Jarrad Davis here, for a young guy coming in and taking on that leadership role, it's very impressive. His approach to not only the practice field, but in the meeting rooms and being a leader in the locker room, I think that goes such a long way. And he's just a guy for me. I've always been a huge fan of him. He's a great player. He popped me a couple times that probably led me into early retirement, which I thought, okay, this is how it's going to be. Okay, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. He's that type of guy, though. He can make.
I love that.
He can rush. He can cover. He can pop you. He can pop O-lineman. Just turn on any play from last year. He's got probably one or two plays every game where he just.
What do you feel like he needs to improve on this season in order to take his game to the next level?
I think the one thing for him is probably discipline. I think last year he's a very, very aggressive player, which you love to have, especially at a linebacker position. But there was some times where he would get almost caught out of position on a play action, running up too far, and now the middle of the field's open for the offense. I think with him it's probably the eye discipline more than anything. Trust what you're seeing in front of you. Trust what the film study says when you're out there on the field. Because you don't ever want to take the aggression, the physicality out of a player like that. But sometimes it is better for him. And I think going into his fourth year now, he'll understand, okay, it's 2nd and 9, probably going to be a passing down. Don't bite on the play action. Don't bite on the run fake. Let me stay disciplined on my keys and whoever, whatever my area of coverage is. I think those things will go a long way for him.
The Lions chose not to pick up his fifth-year option this offseason, but they have reiterated that he is a core part of this defense. How do you think this management, this coaching team views Jarrad Davis?
I think they love him. I think they love his leadership. I think they love what he brings, the intensity that he brings, not only to the linebacker group, but the defense, the team as a whole. When Jarrad Davis makes a play on game day, when he goes and pops a running back or an offensive lineman, you look around the sideline. The guys, it's energetic. And it's very contagious too. His attitude and his approach to the game. Going into not picking up his fifth-year option, I don't think there's anything really to read into there.
Okay.
Other than maybe, hey, let's see if you could stay healthy for 16 games, and let's see if this is the year where you take over and you become one of the premier linebackers in this league. And it goes both ways. Sometimes, as a player, you use it as motivation. And Jarrad Davis, I know he's a guy who obviously he's had a lot of chips on his shoulders throughout the past couple of years. You put another chip on his shoulder like that going into a contract here, I'll bet on Jarrad Davis every day of the week.
Okay, I like it. Great analysis from TJ Lang there on Jarrad Davis, a guy he knows and played with. Another guy you played with is Christian Jones. He joined the Lions, I believe, your last season here in Detroit. What does he bring to that linebacker room, and what role do you see him playing?
Physicality, I think, is the first thing that sticks out with Christian. I think you look at him, 6'3", 250 pounds, might even be a little bit more than that. But much like what we saw last year out of a Devon Kennard, who's he's a guy, he can play traditional linebacker. He can play in the middle of the defense. He can play on the outside. He can rush the passer. He can do everything. I played against him a bunch when he was in Chicago before he came to Detroit.
Sure.
And he was a guy that, honestly, when I would look up across the line of scrimmage, I would see him kind of in the back of your mind. You're going, okay, all right, because you knew he was going to pop you. You knew he's a physical guy. He's a strong guy. You knew he was going to pop you. So for him now, being his couple years in the system now, a lot of depth at that linebacker position, but I think that's a good problem to have. You have a tremendous amount of competition in that group, specifically in the defensive side of the ball. It'll be interesting to see what shakes out here in a couple weeks, but I think Christian Jones is an invaluable part of this team. Not only what he does on the defensive side, but he can go play special teams too if you need him. That adds huge value to you as a player as well.
Well, Christian mentioned that in my one-on-one with him that we played at the top of the show. He said, hey, I've been in this defense for several years now. It's really making sense to me now. Is there something about this defense that maybe takes a little bit of time to settle into, understand, comprehend fully, that these guys who have been in it now for a little bit of time, it's really clicking with them?
Probably, and I think the one thing that might take a little bit longer is that these guys are interchangeable. They're not staying at one position. Christian is not just lining up on the outside. He has to go to the inside. And when you have to switch positions like that, much like, what I went through as a young player in the offensive line, you take a couple snaps at left tackle, then you go to right guard, then you go to left guard, then you go. It takes time, but it makes you understand what your role is in that specific spot of the defense. And I think the more experience, obviously, you have at it, the more comfortable you're going to be where you line up on the ball and it's 1st and 10. You don't even have to think. You know what your job is. You don't have to. You don't have any. You just have clarity at the line of scrimmage. And when you take all the little thoughts out about, okay, what am I doing here? What am I doing there? It allows you to play faster. It allows you to play better, and it allows you to play more consistent. And I think with him, he's a guy that, much like I mean, we could list every single guy. I'm excited to see him play.
All right, the Lions brought in another linebacker in free agency that we expect could have an impact on this team this season. That's Reggie Ragland, who joins the Detroit Lions from the Kansas City Chiefs. He had 30 tackles for the Super Bowl winning Chiefs, 2 sacks and 4 tackles for loss last season. The biggest thing that we saw from him in training camp so far was that pick on Matthew Stafford. TJ, I don't believe you were there that day, but it was a blast to watch. It was a one-handed pick that he had. It was quite possibly a pick 6. Stafford says he would have chased him down. I don't know if you're buying that. Are you buying that?
Well, I'd like to give Matthew a little bit more credit than what you usually see. He's a little better athlete, but no, I don't think you're getting in front of a 6'2", 255-pound Reggie Ragland and going to stop him. No, Reggie's a guy, obviously been in the NFL for a few years now, was a former, I believe, high second-round pick. So a lot of talent there that's probably still maybe untapped. Hopefully this is the year for him that he can come in and get comfortable with the defense alongside the guys he's playing with. I think the one benefit that all these guys have is when you're lining up at that linebacker spot, wherever you are, you look to your left, you look to your right, you have a lot of experience in the group that you're playing with, and with that comes trust. It allows you to play faster. It allows you to play more confident because now you're not worrying about, I hope the Will's doing his job over there. I hope the Sam's doing his job or the Jack's doing his job. You just go play fast. And I think for Reggie, another big physical guy can do everything. He can stop the run, and obviously, like what you said, I didn't see it, I wasn't here, but picking off Matthew Stafford, that's no small feat.
Yeah, that is not an easy thing to do. He said the last time that happened was when he picked off Patrick Mahomes in practice, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So I didn't say it, he did. He said, hey, that turned out pretty good for me last year. And he actually said that he feels like he sees the same qualities in this team as he did in the Super Bowl winning Chiefs. Now, I don't think that's a statement that's exactly what, he's predicting for the Lions this year. He just sees that camaraderie, that community, and the skills that they need to take it far.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been something, talking to a couple guys earlier today, is the camaraderie, the atmosphere, the positivity, the optimism, whatever you want to say. And I know there's 31 other teams out there that are probably saying the same thing, but for the players to say it and for everybody to say it, I think that obviously tells you these guys are excited. These guys are ready to play some football, and I think they're ready to go out there and win some games. I'm not going to make any predictions, but I think they want to prove a whole lot of people wrong, and I'm really excited to watch this team play.
Yeah, I think so too. And the linebacker depth is going to be important this season, especially as we are in a very unique season with so many protocols around COVID-19. depth is going to be important at every position. You heard Cory Undlin mention this linebacker depth and how much he likes it. There's a few guys to mention at that depth spot. Jalen Reeves-Maben has been a guy who has been really important on special teams for the Lions, has also stepped in and played some at the linebacker spot. And Miles Killebrew as well. He's another guy who, came in kind of as a safety, has moved over into that linebacker role. How important is it for this position in particular for guys to be able to contribute on special teams when it comes to depth at their position?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. You if you're not going to be a starter, especially in the linebacker group or the secondary, maybe you're a role player, you're going to have to play special teams. You're going to have to contribute. And I think both those guys you mentioned, Jalen Reeves-Maben and Miles Killebrew, have kind of made a living. They're living in the NFL so far in their careers as being impact special teams guys. And like you said, they filled in at various spots too when needed. Jalen filled in early last season when Jared Davis wasn't available to start the season. Did a really good job. And but those two guys, I think you can never have enough of those two where they're kind of a Swiss Army knife, where Miles is the type of guy you can play in the box to stop the run, or he's the type of guy you can play maybe as a fifth defensive back. He can stop the run in that nickel package, but he can also cover guys as well. Both of those guys are great athletes. We'll see what happens with them when it comes playing time on defense, but the special teams is really the path for a lot of these guys. They have to be impact players on special teams to make their own way in the NFL.
Well, speaking of the more you can bring to the table, that's exactly what linebacker Jason Kabinda has been doing. He might as well have been in one of the offensive shows because he's been playing at that fullback position. We saw him do it a little bit at the end of the season last year. He's been practicing there in training camp as well. And I think that becomes especially important since we got the news just before the show started that the Lions had to place fullback Nick Bodden on IR. So we might see Kabinda on offense some this year.
Well, the more you can do, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of coaches love to see. They love the versatility. I've had experience doing it. I had to go play a couple games of defensive tackle back in 2010 on short yardage and goal line situations, and Adrian Peterson ran through me one time. I didn't play much of it, but when you're not going to be, like we said, one of the core guys, one of the starters, you got to find a way to stick around. And there's a lot of guys on this team that have done that. You look at other positions as well. Offensive lineman Joe Dahl a couple years ago had to go play tight end for a few plays because there were injuries or whatever. So obviously you love to have as many versatile guys as you possibly can on your team. It allows you to fill in guys when needed and just to keep the train rolling.
Well, before we wrap up on the linebackers, I mentioned this with Tim earlier. We put Julian Okwara in the defensive line show, kind of grouped him in with his brother. He's listed as a defensive end on the Detroit Lions website. That's what he is officially on the roster, but we've also seen him work a lot with the linebackers. Where do you see him fitting in on the defense this year?
I think he'll be more of a rush guy, I see him probably more with his hand in the dirt than standing up like a traditional outside linebacker would. I think they drafted him for one reason: get to the passer, right? Get to the.
You're out. That's your job.
No matter what position, especially for him, I don't think he's going to be a guy that you necessarily want covering running back or a field. His best attributes and his best spot will probably be hand in the dirt. Go get the quarterback.
I like it. Okay, well, we wanted to get you guys involved in the show. We talked about it before. We had a social poll for you today. The question was, which linebacker do you think is going to have the most tackles this season? Tim Twentyman weighed in. TJ Lang weighed in. Let's see what the fans are weighing in on. We've got a little bit of a tweet here for you. We've had guys chiming in. This one's from Gary Heitman. He wants to know, he says, #Davis. He thinks he's going to have a great year for the Lions. I love that. Gary is a faithful watcher of the show. Gary, we thank you so much for tuning in and watching Detroit Lions Training Camp Live presented by Rocket Mortgage. We appreciate you participating. Let's see what everybody else is thinking and where the votes are tallying up. 35% agree with Gary Heitman.
They agree with me too.
Yeah, they agree with you. They say maybe you swayed them, TJ. They say Jared Davis is going to rack up the most tackles. Interestingly, Tim's vote was Jamie Collins. He's only got 20% of the vote. He's in third place there. Christian Jones is in second place with 30% of the vote. So we will see. We will find out, but I love having you guys chime in and see what you think on who will have the most tackles for the Lions this season. We also asked you a trivia question earlier on in the show. We asked you if you knew which players on the Detroit Lions went to high school in the state of Michigan. TJ, do you have any thoughts on this?
Oh, boy. I can think of one.
It's a tough one. Okay, here's your answer. The answers are tight end Matt Sokol, and linebacker Anthony
Sokol.
Pittman.
I knew Anthony Pittman.
Yeah,
Wayne
exactly.
State
He's
guy.
a Detroit guy.
Where did
so,
Sokol go to high school?
Well, he went to Michigan State. I don't have his high school off the top of the head, but he did go to Michigan State. So he went to high school in Michigan as well. Actually, I think it was Rochester.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Good.
Rochester Adams is where he went. So
two great Michigan men.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it. We've got another Michigan man on our set now too, right? Tell us where you went to high school, TJ.
Brother Rice, Birmingham. Well, I started at White Lake Lakeland, which is up in White Lake.
Oh, look at this
Oh, wow.
footage.
Look at the holy moly. Where'd you get that from? Big number 50 out there at right tackle. Whoa.
Oh, I love this.
Holy
You want to know where we got this footage from?
Holy flashback.
Right. I drove.
That's nostalgic.
I
right
drove
there.
to
Wow.
Brother Rice a couple years ago when you were being inducted into their Hall of Fame and went through a tape closet to get these VHSs.
Oh, boy.
And now they are here on this show for you to see.
You're really showing off my age when you talk about VHS tapes.
I know, right?
There were no
I threw you under
DVDs
the
back
bus
then,
there.
unfortunately. Wow, thank you for that. That was awesome. I haven't seen any of that footage in a long time.
Yeah, you bring back some memories.
yeah,
You remember
very-
those specific games those plays were from.
Heavy nostalgia right there, I tell you. You miss football. I think, obviously, you miss playing out here on Sundays, but some of the best times of my life were playing high school football and playing with all the buddies and lining up there at Birmingham Brother Rice. We didn't end up winning any state championships when I was there. They actually won the year after I left.
Ah, so close.
So I guess I was the, I guess they didn't miss me at all. But no, that was fun. That was good stuff.
Well, you're right. There is a lot of nostalgia associated with football, and I know we are all nostalgic for football. It feels like fall out here this morning. We are ready to get back to the football season. The first game of the year is just 2 weeks from yesterday. We are in the last week of training camp. The Lions have transitioned to their regular season schedule already, and they're just about ready to start getting ready for the Bears. We only have one more show left in our Lions Training Camp Live presented by Rocket Mortgage shows. That show is going to be on Thursday when we are going to take a look at the DBs. That means we get to talk Jeff Okudah finally, TJ. That'll be fun.
I'm sure you've been waiting for that one for a long time.
Yeah.
Huh? A lot of questions, obviously, around him.
Yeah, exactly. We're also going to take you through our top 5 plays from training camp. Herman Moore is going to be our guest analyst on that show. So there is absolutely a lot to talk about. And TJ, we appreciate you joining the show. Even though you tried to take it over from me, I appreciate you coming on set and talking a little bit of linebackers with us.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, Tori. It's good to be back out here. Obviously, it's been a weird training camp for everybody, including you guys and the media and the players, but it's time. I think everybody's excited for the season to get here, and credit to everybody, in the organization for doing things right, making sure the guys are staying healthy and doing the right things, following protocol. I think it says a lot about them and every other team in the NFL, too, to have no issues really pop up. Hopefully they continue to do the same thing, because I know we're all ready for football.
We are. We absolutely
It's
are.
been too long.
We can't wait to see those players making plays on the field. But for now, as we sign off from Lions Training Camp Live presented by Rocket Mortgage, we will leave you with highlights from the last week of training camp. Thanks, guys.
Your house brought you together. Like, really together. And although together is great, together with more space is better. With Rocket Mortgage, you get personalized loan options, closing costs, and tax estimates all in real time. So when you need to know what it takes for a home to fit your budget and your family, Rocket can.
Luigi! Big time!
30% of Detroit families don't have internet access at home. Rocket Mortgage is committing millions to ensure all Detroit students have the technology they deserve. Together, we are changing the course. Learn more at rocketmortgageclassic.com.